Hey, what's up, family? This is Greg Ross. I'm an expert sales coach and trainer, and I want to welcome you to our session on the needs analysis. This is a fundamental sales training session for sales reps and XDRs. So, whether you're booking meetings for the sales team or whether you're selling deals, this one should be a good one. I really want to emphasize this because I think, let's start off with why is a needs analysis important? It's really important that you get on the same page as your prospects. We have this way of selling as sellers, but the prospects have a way of buying, right? They have a process that they follow, and they have a criteria that they use when they're making decisions, whether it's written down or not, even if it's in their mind. So what I want to do with this session is give you an insight into how buyers evaluate a software purchase, because I've been in the buyer seat. And I've worked with buyers extensively through my 20 years in sales, selling enterprise software. So I'm going to open the curtains. I want to give you a peek behind the scenes into what the heck the prospects are thinking when they're evaluating your software. Now, this may not exactly match up with the software that you're selling, and that's okay. What I'm trying to do is give you an idea of how prospects think about buying software. And if you can walk away from this course a little bit more educated on their decision-making process, that's a big win. So let's get started. When we talk about conducting a needs analysis, I did a session, and hopefully you saw it. If you haven't, go to my YouTube channel at the Greg Ross, and you can find it there. But I did a session on MEDDIC, which is a discovery framework. One of the D's in MEDDIC stands for decision-making process. So if you're a fan of MEDDIC and you're using MEDDIC as your discovery framework in your sales process, meaning those are the questions, the buckets of information you're looking to fill before you close the deal, which I highly recommend, then this course is especially relevant because this is kind of zooming into MEDDIC, to that 1D for decision-making process. And it's going to teach you exactly what questions you should be asking. And I even created a sample evaluation criteria for you to see and to take a look at. So your prospects, as I mentioned, they'll already have an evaluation criteria in mind, either just mentally or written down. The objective of your needs analysis is to uncover and clarify those factors that are most important to your prospect when they're choosing to purchase a software solution. In this way, you actually bring yourself as the seller into alignment with the prospect, which is great. If you've been watching my sales training content, you know that I focus on becoming a trusted advisor, which means that you are coming to the table with insights, research. You're suggesting to them which challenges you may think that they already have and how to solve those challenges, even challenges that maybe they don't foresee. That's all great, but right now what we're trying to do is flip the script a little bit, and we're trying to get inside of their head as a buyer so that we understand what the prospect's evaluation process looks like, the features, the benefits of a solution that they're looking for in order to make the sale compelling for them. So how do we do this? Well, we ask questions to uncover their decision criteria or their evaluation criteria. So an example of that would be, which factor will have the most weight in the final decision, your final decision to buy? The prospect may say, well, ease of integration and user adoption are our top priorities. That's pointing you in the right direction. Now you know what they're focused on, and you know which benefits of your software to emphasize when you're presenting to them, when you're moving through your sales process. So every question that you ask that you get answered successfully is going to really help you. All right, I'm going to move myself here over just a little bit. Now, I had a session on spin selling, which is a great discovery method to ask second, third level questions to uncover the impact of challenges that your prospect might be having and to get them talking about the pain that they're experiencing. Not you telling them, but get them talking about it. If you haven't seen my session on spin selling, it's also on the YouTube channel at the Greg Ross, and I encourage you to go check it out, like it, comment, and share. So as you're digging, right, what are the main challenges you're looking for? What are the main areas you're looking for in terms of where you deliver value with your software? There's 5 fundamental pillars. How are you going to help them through the use of your software drive revenue? How are you going to help them save money? How are you going to help them gain efficiency in their processes, right? How are you going to reduce risk and de-risk certain processes? And then their job satisfaction. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as emotional. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as qualitative. I just started using the term job satisfaction, and I like that because it's easy for everyone to understand what the heck we're talking about. So how will your software improve their quality of life, right? These are the 5 things that you're looking for. And if you're asking good spin selling questions, you should be able to uncover challenges, pain points in those 5 areas. Now, this is really important because whatever challenges you uncover, it goes without saying that the software you're selling is going to have to solve those challenges. So you can go ahead and put that information onto your evaluation criteria, your needs analysis. When you're trying to get inside of their head and think about what's really important with your software, it always starts with the value. The value that your software provides has to align with the major challenges that you've uncovered for their business. All right. Next, we're looking for primary decision-making factors. So I've got some questions and some answers listed here. So I've tried to give you a couple of example questions for each category. All right, question number 1. What are the most important factors when selecting a software solution? This is a great question to ask your prospect, right? What's the most important thing to you when you're looking for software to help solve this challenge? Now, this is a good question to ask if they come to you asking for a demo of your software, if it's like an inbound lead and they're just looking to buy some software, which happens, but not as often. Or if you're creating demand and you're trying to convince them that they need to solve these challenges and you're suggesting your software as a solution, I think it's still a really great question to ask. Question number 2, which factor will have the most weight in your final decision to purchase a solution? Right now, an example of an answer here would be ease of integration and user adoption. So I want it to be easy to integrate in with my other systems that I'm using or with data sources outside of my business. And I want people to actually use this software. If we're spending money on it, I want the adoption or the usage to be high, right? So these are all questions that you can ask as you're moving through the sales process that are going to give you a little additional insight on what's important to them. Next category, technical requirements. This is often overlooked, okay? So here's a couple of suggested questions. Question number 1, what specific technical requirements or features does the software need to have? Now, if it needs to integrate with their CRM or their ERP system, or they need to have a dashboard with all of their analytics on it, that's really important for us to know because we need to make sure that the features and benefits of our software align with that, right? Question number 2, how important is scalability and future-proofing? Very important as we expect to grow 50% in the next 2 years and we need a solution that can scale with us, right? Is your solution scalable? If they start talking about scalability, you need to understand how you show them that your software can scale with them as they grow, right? And that could mean in capabilities that the software has, or that could mean in pricing, right? How's my pricing going to be affected if I'm charging based off of the number of user seats and then my number of user seats goes up by 50%? How's that going to affect my pricing? These are all things that are going to be on their mind, right? All right, next, user experience and adoption. How critical is ease of use for the team, right? Do you have a team that is really technically savvy? Or do you have a team that's going to be using this software that has never used software before in their lives? This is really important to understand, right? We want to tailor our sale to make sure that we're accommodating them and the individual end user level of experience, right? Question number 2, what level of customization do you expect the software to offer? This has always been a hot button issue at any software company I've worked for, because customizing your software to meet customer needs is tricky, it's difficult. Salespeople commonly get themselves in trouble here by promising that the software will do things that it can't actually do. So most of the time, I've had leaders in the business encourage me, Greg, don't use the word customization, use the word configurable. We'll configure the software, but we can't necessarily customize it to suit all of your needs, right? We can't necessarily change the wording in that one drop down just because you want it to say something a little bit different, for example. So These are all healthy things to explore. Why? Because you want their expectations to be properly set and properly met. All right, next category. Total cost of ownership. You may hear this referred to as TCO. You may hear this referred to as budget. What are your budget constraints for this project? I actually like to use the term guardrails. So I ask the prospect at the end of the first discovery call, hey, what's the guardrails on your budget for this project? I want to make sure that what we're proposing to you is within the realm of reasonability. I want to make sure we're being reasonable here. We're actually within your expectations. Now, they may not have the slightest clue what that is, or they may not have a defined budget because you've created a demand for your software by identifying challenges, by recommending your software as a solution. That's okay, but you need to be realistic about how much it costs and how are they going to pay for it. Do they have the budget today? Are they going to need to create budget? What does that process look like? All healthy questions for you to ask as a consultative salesperson. Question number 2, how do you evaluate the total cost of ownership, including implementation, training, support, upgrades? Oftentimes, the prospect will want to look at the upfront costs, how much this is going to cost me initially. Is there an implementation fee? Is there a team that professional services team that I need to pay for or utilize to help train my staff on using the software? And then what do those ongoing costs look like over the next couple of years, right? These are all things that are going to be lingering around in the prospect's mind that you will need to address. Vendor support and reputation. Obviously, this goes without saying that reputation of the software vendor is very, very important. People do business with people they trust. And if you have bad reviews out there or a bad reputation, that's something that you really need to be careful with right up front because that is going to come back to bite you. So you need to think about social proofing, case studies, customer testimonials. How do I combat that? Or they might not know who the heck you are, right? Who are you? Can you even do what you say you're going to do? This is very, very important. Credibility, reputation, trust, these are all important. One of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember who said it, so if you Google it and you find out, drop it in the comments section. One of my favorite quotes is, business moves at the speed of trust. This is really important. Question number 2, what level of customer support are you expecting with your solution? Are you going to need us to hold your hand through the entire relationship? Do you need a dedicated account manager? Do you need a team to help you with the onboarding and training? Or do you feel like you don't need those things? And is that going to affect my pricing and the proposal that I'm giving, right? These are all important questions. Decision-making priorities. Question number 1, how will you balance different criteria such as price, functionality, and support? You know as well as I do, folks, that sometimes people buy the lowest cost solution, right? Even if it means sacrificing on the quality of the solution, they'll go for the lowest costing solution. So if you're out there razzle-dazzling them with hundreds of features and benefits of your solution, in the back of their mind, all they might be thinking is, wow, this sounds really expensive. This sounds really expensive. So you almost need to address the elephant in the room early on and figure out, okay, how much are we working with here? How are you going to balance that? Or, do you want something really inexpensive and low functionality? Do you want something really robust and you're willing to pay for that functionality? Oftentimes it comes down to the return on investment. People don't buy software just to spend money and have a shiny software tool. It's an investment in their business. They expect there to be a return on that investment. And usually the investment is a minimum 3x ROI. Now, if you're a seller and you know that you're going to be able to provide them with a 3 to 5x return on investment, meaning if they spend $20K, they're going to get 60 to 100 back in return in reduced cost, increased revenue, efficiency gains, risk reduction, etc., or time spent, time saved, then that's a good deal for them, right? And we need to always encourage the prospects to look at their purchase as an investment, not a cost. But sometimes the budget is the budget. So you really need to dig in here and understand what's their budget and can you go a little bit over or not? And do we need to sacrifice some functionality for the sake of the budget? These are all questions you'll have to answer as you go through the sales process. Question number 2, Are there any deal breakers that would immediately disqualify a solution? I actually love this question. So at the end of every call, and I think it goes a long way to build trust, I'll actually pause. I'll say, John, before we wrap the call up today, I just want to check with you. Anything you saw today that stood out as a red flag or concerning or anything that you didn't like? This really helps me to get this feedback from you as we move through this process together. I did this just like a couple of days ago. And the prospect that I was talking to on the phone, she said, well, actually, Greg, yeah, there was something that I was really kind of just reluctant to ask about, but it concerned me. And she opened up and she shared that. And guess what? We never would have known if we just wrapped up the call. And 3 days later, we addressed it on the call. She felt good about it. But 3 days later, it came back up in an email where she was concerned about it again, had some issues, some concerns, lingering fears in the back of her mind. So I had to get my product team on the phone, and we actually went another couple steps with her to prove to her that this was not going to be an issue, easy to fix. We were able to get proactive, and then it eliminated that. Folks, if you don't do this as you're moving through your sales process, that is going to come back to bite you. That could end up being the reason they don't buy. And you may never even know because you didn't do a needs analysis. You didn't ask the right questions. You didn't get the information or solicit the feedback from them to help you make sure that you're winning the sale. That's what a needs analysis is all about. All right. Evaluation process and timeline. Are there other vendors involved? I like the question, are we your first best choice on this project? I think it's always good to make sure that there's no other vendors involved in the process. Now, you may not have any competitors, and that's okay. Your biggest competitor might be the status quo. It might be their Excel spreadsheet and 25 of their people that are doing this manually, right? That's good. You need to know how you compare to the status quo, right? And hopefully you figured out your return on investment. But if there are other vendors, you got to really be careful, and you need to make sure you understand what you do better than they do, what you don't do better than they do. I feel like there's too many do's. How you are better than they are, how you're worse than they are, right? What you can't do and they can't do that you need to figure out a way to do outside of the box, right? By doing some outside of the box thinking. And what the prospect actually likes about their current solution, even if that's the status quo. You need to understand what they like about their current state. So a needs analysis is all about identifying the current state and the future state and mapping for the prospect, how are we going to go from the current state to the future state? And that's why all of these questions are really important. Question number 2, what's the timeline for making your final decision? I like to start with asking them, when would you like to see the software go live? And then I work backwards from that, because whatever that date is, you got at least 30 days from the time that you give them the proposal until usually they sign the contract. That could be a lot longer if it's an enterprise software sale. So starting with when would you like to go live and working your way backwards is a really great way to make sure that you're doing the needs analysis properly. You've got enough time budgeted into your process. You're forecasting your deal accurately and all of these things that you're not going to have a clue about if you're not asking the questions, right? Now, also, it's possible that they want to move too quickly. If you have a solution that's worth its salt, it probably takes a couple weeks to get up and running and to get hooked up and connected. And, that's going to be, and the time to value, maybe you've got 90 days before you start seeing the value that you told them they'd be receiving from the solution. So these are all things that you need to be considering as you're working your way through this process with your prospect. Security and compliance. Wow, in enterprise sales, this is a big one. If you're in a highly regulated industry like financial services, the healthcare industry, you're going to run into some security and compliance rules. HIPAA is a big one, right, in the healthcare industry. SOC 2 is a really big one. Sometimes they want to see your SIG, your Standard Information Gathering Questionnaire. They want to know if you're compliant with Sarbanes-Oxley or if you're compliant with ISO, right? So these are all things. Usually there's some documentation that you need to show them up front. There might be an agreement that you need to get signed, right, related to that compliance rule. If these are things that you know that you're going to need in order to close a deal, Don't leave them hanging until the last minute. There's nothing worse than having some security or compliance person come in and blow up your deal because you don't have the necessary compliance paperwork. So make sure, if you know you're going to need that and you're getting traction off the first call, just send them the documentation, send them the agreements for signature, get it to them right away. That way you're giving yourself enough time to get them signed and satisfied by the end of the deal. All right, question number one, how important are security features and compliance with industry regulations? Which compliance and security rules do we need to be complying with? Which ones specifically? What's the process for us to get you the information? Who's the point of contact that's responsible for reviewing that information and giving us the green light? These are all good questions to ask. All right, so here I've got an example decision-making criteria or evaluation criteria that I put together just to kind of show you guys what this looks like from my experience, okay? Now, if you're selling to a small business, you're probably not going to have this unless you've got a really astute business owner. Now, I think that ChatGPT has changed this a little bit, because if you go to ChatGPT and you say, I'm a marketing team and I'm looking to buy marketing analytics software, what type of software evaluation criteria should I use? ChatGPT will give you a long list of evaluation criteria, a lot of which I'm showing you. So hopefully this aligns with what your buyers are finding out on their own. I also looked at several large enterprise organizations that do software evaluations as part of their purchasing process. So this is all good stuff, but I want to show you, like, typically you have your evaluation criteria here on the left side, right? And then you've got the vendors listed out here in the second column. I just put some dummy names in. And then you've got a status, typically like a green is a confirmed yes, red is a confirmed no, yellow is an unknown, and then blue means we need some kind of integration to make it happen. There's usually an impact, and it's a weighted scoring system that they use to score each vendor, right? And then they'll have like a notes section. Now this is just one tab. This could be really complex. If you're selling to a large organization, they may have a couple different checklists depending on which team is evaluating you. Now, if you know that this exists and you're selling to a larger organization, right? You're selling to a big enterprise company or a healthcare organization with 300 facilities, right? You know that there's going to be an evaluation criteria like this that they're going to be using to evaluate your software. So let me ask you this question. What is the number one most important question you can ask? Give up? Do you have an evaluation criteria that you're using that's in writing? And can I get a copy of it? I want to make sure, Mr. Prospect, as we go through this process, that we're a yes in every category. And if we're not, we need to figure out a solution for you so we can make sure that you're really, really happy with this process and with your solution. Great question to ask. Get proactive. Come on, people. Get in the game. Ask them for that evaluation criteria right up front. There's no rule that says you can't ask. Now, they might not give it to you or show it to you, and that's a trust issue. But I've had people in the past give it to me, and then I've got it right in front of me. And it's like having the answers to the test before you take it. It's a really great way to make sure you're winning the deal. Also, if you're a thought leader in the industry, you've got a great reputation, you've got thousands of clients you're working with, and you're talking to an organization, you can be prescriptive. You can use this as a way to enhance your trusted advisor status. And you can say, hey, do you buy a lot of software? Do you go through the evaluation process frequently to buy software? They're going to say, no, we actually don't. Great. So we actually put together a template for you that shows you which factors you should be evaluating, which ones are really, really important for this type of software purchase. I'm going to give it to you as a free resource, and I want you just to follow along as we're going through the sales process. Let's make sure that we get answers to all of those questions for you. Now, here's the clincher. You're going to want to take that template and make sure that you're stacked in every category as having it be something that you can do well and that your competition maybe can't. Use it to build a competitive advantage. And at the same time, you're going to look like a really great trusted advisor and trusted resource as you're working your way through the sales process. That one's free for you folks. That's a good tip right there. All right, let me move myself out of the way here. So now we've got all of our criteria analyzed and evaluated. Now we need an action plan. We need to make sure that you fully understand as the seller the factors that will drive the prospect's final purchasing decision. And that's going to really help you position yourself effectively so that you're in alignment, so that you understand exactly what's most important to them and you're selling to that successfully. So you want to ensure alignment, make sure your software aligns with the client's top evaluation criteria, especially around ease of integration, user adoption, and compliance and security. Address concerns if any features or areas of your software don't fully match their criteria. Be prepared to offer alternative solutions or compromises. You want to present them with a tailored presentation, focus heavily on how it meets their top priorities, show examples of seamless integrations, how easy it is to use. Do not make it look complicated, trust me. And customer success stories. Provide case studies when necessary or testimonials to help build trust. And always, always, always clarify the ROI so that they believe the impact that you're making and the return that you're having on their investment so that they understand the total cost of ownership. All right, time for some pro tips. And then we're going to land this plane right on time. Here we go. Always ask for the evaluation criteria up front. Cannot emphasize this enough. This is like the most important question that you can ask. Do you have an evaluation criteria and can I get a copy? Get aligned. If you align your sales to their needs, you can't miss, literally. When you're in alignment, you feel it. You're like, okay, I'm being a trusted advisor. I'm being an expert resource for them. I know exactly what their needs are. We're well positioned to win. It just gives you a confidence that you don't have if you're not asking those questions. The information we're gathering gives us confidence through the sales process. All right, and finally, be proactive. If you know you have to provide some documentation, don't wait, send it up front. A fast process where you're moving through efficiently and effectively is going to be to your benefit. So just send them the information if you know that they need it. Don't make them ask for it. All right, I want to personally thank you for your attention and your focus during this course. Guys, I hope this meant something to you. Use ChatGPT to have fun with this topic, right? Put in a prompt and ask it for topics for a needs analysis focused around the MEDDIC framework, around the decision-making process. It will give you an entire list very similar to what I showed you today and will help you, hopefully, get predictive, get inside the minds of your buyers to make your sale more successful. All right, guys, remember, sales is a game. Play to win. I'll talk to you next time.